Hi, folks. Here's a few questions from a new grad who is interested in transitioning into the games industry. Thank you so much, everyone who sends in your questions, whether it be from the YouTube comments or emails or LinkedIn. I love hearing what you folks are working on and also answering the questions as often as I can. So I'm making this video to answer these questions from Jaden, and maybe other folks will benefit from the answers. But without further ado, let's get into it. So this is somebody who just graduated. He got a degree with a focus in ML engineering, a bachelor's of science with a minor in math. However, in his last year of university studies, he tried a computer graphics course. He got really passionate about it, and now he wants to see how he can transition into that industry, the game development industry, as maybe like a graphics programmer. Okay, so there's a lot to break into there. The first question he asks is, what would you say is a realistic timeline to break into the industry? I would say starting from zero. Well, it depends what you mean break into the industry, right? Because that can mean a lot of different things. But I would define it as having a content role, which I would say is a role that's either art, engineering, or design. And that would be full-time within the game development industry. So in order to go from zero to get one of those roles, the easiest of which is probably going to be tools engineer, I would expect it to take maybe like 9 months to a year, where basically from zero, you would learn your coding skills in like a 3-month boot camp. And then you would be building out some really great portfolio pieces, maybe on a 2 weeks per portfolio piece, and that maybe you get through like 6 of those in like a month or two. And then maybe there's like 3 that are actually good, and then you start the interview cycle for like half a year. And then within those 6 months, I'm pretty confident that, you know, if you're working with a good coach like me or somebody else, you could find placement. So I would say probably about 9 months starting from scratch. If you've got a decent portfolio already and we're just jumping into the interview grind, and you've got the resources you need, like my book or some of these other study portals, then I think you could definitely get it done through the interview cycle, probably within like 3 months to 6 months. I think is pretty realistic of just interviewing, basically. Okay, number 2, how important is it having a research or academic background? It's not very important. A lot of people are not looking for degrees in particular. They just want to see that you can demonstrate the core competencies. A degree is just a affirmation. It's a reference point. It's saying, hey, this is an example of somebody who delivered, and therefore they're more likely to have the core competencies, right? But that alone isn't a make it or break it situation. Whether you're an artist or an engineer or designer, you know, the degree really is just the first step for many people. For some people, they skip that step. The most important thing is really your portfolio and your resume for folks who don't have a portfolio. So I would say it's not important to have a research or academic background. Really, you just gotta put it to task and have demonstrable competency, which is to say you have small projects you've made that show off what you could do. Okay, third question. Would pursuing a master's degree be beneficial? If so, research focused or professionally oriented? I mean, a master's degree is beneficial to the extent that you find it beneficial. I personally, if you're just trying to get into the games industry, no, it would not be the most efficient use of your time. It would be more efficient for you to just self-taught, self-learn whatever the core competencies are for the role at hand, and then just to build out a portfolio with those competencies. But that's hard to do on your own. Sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, right? And those are sort of that's the facility that something like a structured degree provides. So it sounds like you've already graduated, you're already working in an industry. For you, I don't think really it would make a lot of sense. There are people who do it though. There's certainly people who are in like a 4-year degree and then they do something like a 4+1, which is a master's study, sometimes called a co-term. And within that extra year, they're really just there because they're pining to get an internship, because they know that it helps so much to have an internship, right? And internships, sometimes they won't help you unless you're like currently enrolled as a student. So you could do something like maybe a master's degree where you pop in for like a quarter and then you pop out, and then now you're kind of like student status, but you only paid like 1/4's worth for that. So what's that? Maybe like $20,000 to have the privilege to call yourself a student. And then now you can apply to internships with this sort of amorphous return date of saying like, oh, like ambiguous return date. Let's say like, oh, one day I'll come back to be a student, and then at least now you have all the internship opportunities, which can broaden the amount of opportunities available to you. But I don't know. I feel like it's not worth the 20K, honestly. I would say just go for like um the associate level roles, and I think you could probably find placement. Okay, number 4. Are there particular tools or technologies I should focus on? Currently, my projects utilize C++, CUDA, and Vulkan. Yes, certainly. What you want to do is you want to go online, search up associate graphics engineer, or associate engineer, or associate tools engineer, right? Whatever the role is you want to get into. I would recommend associate. That's what it means to be a new grad, basically. Or sometimes it will say junior, so you could look at junior graphics engineer as well. And then when you find these job postings, you're going to want to look at the job requirements and figure out exactly what competencies you need to learn. So that's basically the process. We could do it now really quick. This is actually something that I'm planning to cover in potentially a GDC talk, so we'll see if I do that. But let me do a quick Google search here. So associate graphics engineer. I will teach you how to do this in case you don't know. All right, let me share my screen here really quick. Do I not have a desktop here? All right, I guess I'm gonna have to hide my face. And then this is super wacky. What is happening here? All right, whatever. This will work. Okay, here we go. So here I am, associate graphics engineer. I just type it in. Then I look at what jobs I'd like to do. So maybe I do gaming. And you're going to want, I mean, I'm searching near California. You're going to want to search for whatever you're interested in. And boohoo, there's no options. We could try rendering programmer at Epic, but Epic, if it doesn't say a title, this may be explained already, but if it doesn't say a title, it means it's implicitly 2 years of experience. So when you click in here, it's probably going to say that somewhere. Right? Because normally here it will say like senior or associate rendering programmer. They haven't included that. They're also not saying a minimum. So like this could be something you could go for, but honestly, this is a really hard job to get. Because I know I know what the bar is at Epic, and it's really fucking high. We could also look at junior. Rockstar is way easier to get into than Epic. No offense to Rockstar people. So this one, you're going to need 1 year of PC or console graphics development experience. You might be able to skirt by if you got a sick-ass portfolio, but this is something that you could apply to for sure. So, all right, I'm not going to look too much, but basically these are 2 roles that you could potentially apply to. And then your question was, hey, what are the technologies I need to learn? You're going to answer that question because you're going to do the research and read the role. So I go here, and it tells me it wants 3D graphics APIs, these specifically, so Vulkan, DirectX, Direct3D, OpenGL. You're going to want to have experience doing this. You're going to want to have experience doing this. And yeah, they are looking, this is definitely mid-level because they want a ship title, but basically this is the stuff that you could start working on in pursuit of that until an associate role comes open, right? Because if you don't have a badass portfolio that hits the tuner, V-tune, whatever this is, right? Then like, you're not going to really have, you're just going to have a better shot if you start building up that portfolio experience now. So basically, that's how you do it. You just Google what they want and then go into ChatGPT, say like, hey, how do I learn this? And go to YouTube, look at a beginner project on how to do something like this, and then that's kind of how you get your start. You just do it. You just do one of your portfolio projects. And I can go into greater detail another time, but basically that's the high level. So The question was, are there particular tools or technologies I should focus on? The answer is yes, but you never just do this vaguely, right? You always pick a role and then you figure out what they want. So find a role, look at the job application, and just read it. See what they want. You don't have to imagine what they want. They'll tell you. Okay, number 5. Between studying and building a portfolio, what should I prioritize? Moving slowly through content lets me draw a deeper intuition, but hinders the expansion of my portfolio. Honestly, you want to be doing project-based learning. So you should be building out potential portfolio projects as you go through and touch upon these technologies. And then a portfolio is really the capstone for whatever you're learning. So for example, let's say you've never done Vulkan before. You do a YouTube video that's like a 2 hours basic how to Vulkan. Then you do that. Maybe it takes a day or two. Then over a weekend or maybe a week, we're talking something that's 4 days to 10 days kind of, you want it to be under 2 weeks. That's the amount of time you're spending on a portfolio project. You take everything you learned on this Vulkan, maybe you watched a few tutorials, and you build out something small, right? That's basically the idea. So should you be studying or building a portfolio? This is an unfair question. Really, you should be building out the portfolio. That's the most important thing. And when you have a job application that's asking for competencies that are not present within your portfolio already, that's when you need to study, learn what you don't know, and then create portfolio projects to demonstrate that competency as you acquire that knowledge. So basically, that's the process. Portfolio always comes first because you want to be interviewing immediately. You want to be going to these interviews, even if you don't stand a shot. You want to be applying. You want to be learning on the interview, because that's really the best way, is to start getting slapped in the head with some of these questions and realizing how much you don't know, and then going out and researching the stuff. So basically, that's the main premise. Portfolio first, and you'll be on your way. So it sounds like you're already asking the right questions. That's great. You've done some of the work already, and you have a full-time job pursuing, a career outside of game dev. So you're already kind of learning how to program in what sounds like an adjacent language, even if it's not graphics specifically. So it sounds like you're on the right track, Jaden. Let me know if you do have any follow-up questions. You could send me another message on LinkedIn or put a comment here on YouTube. And for anyone else listening in, I hope this was helpful for you as well. Thanks.